Wednesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown and Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or a comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that when you're getting on the show, you're well organized and you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards, but we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. And also you can follow our live video stream of this program via our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio, YouTube channel Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all very much again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that gets results. Glendale Herbert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. It's a pleasure to be here as usual, particularly at this point when we're discussing major issues here that confronts the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the diaspora. It's always, again, a great pleasure to be here at Vaughan Radio and to be in partnership with you and at least advancing the cause and at least questioning the issues that are before us. Thanks, Webbo.
Okay, you had mentioned some great issues, topical issues at this juncture. And for everybody that's listening, last week, if you were with us, we dealt with a particular issue, and we have two statements concerning those same issues. We are going to give a listen to both statements, one from the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, and the other from the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. We'll go to those and then we'll talk on the other side of them.
Good evening, my fellow citizens, my fellow Nevisians at home and in the diaspora, my fellow residents, nationals and non-nationals. Over the last few days, there has been much debate about our beautiful island of Nevis, particularly lands on the southern part of the island and the direction in which the present administration is willing to chart her course for the future. There is so much at stake for us and for future generations that no matter your political affiliation, I ask you to listen with a sense of urgency. In 1983, after 101 years, and after tough negotiations and many sacrifices, Nevis regained the right to self-administration as reflected in the Schedule 5 of the Constitution of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. These legislative powers, among other things, include the right to make laws for land matters and the manufacture and supply of electricity. Regrettably, the present CCM-led administration seems to be in a hurry to gift those powers back to the federal government. As many of you know, the Premier's wife is the owner of a real estate company that is involved with the purchase of lands on the southern side of Nevis, spanning the general area from Long Point to Saddle Hill. Now, let me say at the outset, there is nothing wrong with a realtor approaching landowners to purchase land, and there is nothing wrong with a landowner selling their land if that is what they want to do. However, no one has the right to harass you or force you into selling your land if you do not want to do so. For the record, my late father, Sir Simeon Daniel, owned land on the southern side of Nevis, and he gave clear instructions in his last will and testament that the land is to be sold. On that basis, when the executors of his estate were approached with a request to purchase that land last year, an agreement was negotiated to sell the land. Those were the wishes of my late father. As far as I can recall, there was nothing unusual or no reason to be concerned when the agreement was executed. Personally, I do not own any land on the south side of Nevis, and I am not selling any land on the south side of Nevis, as some rumors have been suggesting. In recent months, serious questions have been raised about whether there is a plot being hatched behind closed doors and in a shroud of secrecy to force landowners on the southern side of Nevis to sell their property. Landowners must be aware that with the special sustainability zone legislation passed in the National Assembly last week, if the Premier and the Prime Minister designate lands on the southern side of Nevis as a special sustainability zone, your land may be deemed as needed for a public good and taken without your permission. That is deeply troubling, and even more so because of the lengths to which the Premier is willing to go to acquire people's lands. In addition to providing the means by which the Premier can acquire people's land, the SSZ legislation gives the Prime Minister the authority to approve or disapprove special sustainability zones in Nevis, each with a minimum of 500 acres. But why should the Prime Minister hold such authority when our Constitution makes it clear that Nevis has the right to control its own lands? Why has the Premier surrendered this power, just as he did with our natural resources, such as geothermal? What concessions have been made? What deals have been struck in secret? I do believe that time will reveal. In the meantime, however, I must say loudly and clearly that I am not in support of any plan to give up our people's lands, whether to domestic or foreign investors, to develop Nevis in a way that shuts out Nevisians. Some estimate that as much as 6 square miles on the southern side of Nevis is under threat to be included under the deceptive Special Sustainability Zone legislation. Imagine special sustainability zones in Nevis with their own brand new hospitals, brand new schools, police stations and power grid, while the Premier cannot complete a hospital that has been under construction for 8 years to benefit the people of Nevis. He cannot secure proper facilities for our police and firemen. He cannot stabilize our electricity, and he cannot build a community college for our young people. I am completely against development plans on Nevis, where a few will be enriched at the expense of the Nevisian people, where the Nevisian people continue to struggle and are not elevated. I quote the late Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel, my father, who said, "If growth in the economy only benefits a tiny, wealthy minority, whether domestic or foreign, it is not true development." Land ownership, hard work, and self-determination are the hallmarks of the Nevisian people, and I will not sit idly by and see Nevisians being forced out of their lands for the self-serving interest of Premier Brantley. If we must fight, that is what we will do, with every fiber of our beings, in honor of those before us who sacrificed, and in honor of our future generations for whom we must preserve our Nevisian heritage. The Nevis Reformation Party will fight with every lawful means, through the media, through social platforms, through organized protests, and in the streets if we have to. We will not allow Nevisians to be locked out of our own island. The Bible tells us, though they plot evil against you and devise wicked schemes, they cannot succeed. For God knows the plans he has for us, to prosper us and not to harm us, to give us a future and a hope. I thank you for listening, and let us stand together. Let us fight together, and may God continue to bless us all and bless our beloved and beautiful island of Nevis. Thank you.
My fellow citizens and residents, I address you this evening to explain to you recent legislative developments in the National Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis, touching and concerning the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Law, passed with unanimous support in the Parliament on Monday, 11th August 2025. I address you at this time because the Nevis Island Administration has been formally approached by an investor seeking to establish such a zone on the island of Nevis. That investor is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. Matters are now under active discussion at the cabinet level, and no decisions have been arrived at. It is, however, important that I keep the Nevisian public fully abreast of developments to date. Now, what is a special sustainability zone? The idea of special economic zones is not a new idea. They exist in most developed economies in the world. Globally successful examples exist in China, India, Singapore, and in Dubai. In the Caribbean, these zones have existed in Jamaica from as early as the 1970s, and the Cayman Islands officially launched its SEZ on the 3rd of February 2012. Globally, these zones are characterized by significant tax incentives, dedicated infrastructure, and a specific legal framework. Given the clear over-reliance nationally on the Citizenship by Investment program and the obvious challenges those programs are facing internationally, I have long advocated that we move at pace to diversify the St. Kitts and Nevis economy and to bring into being new and innovative ideas to drive development which is not dependent on CBI. It is in that vein that I and my CCM colleagues in opposition supported the recent passage of the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act in the National Parliament. I believe that the National Parliament has significantly improved upon the idea of the Special Economic Zone. St. Kitts and Nevis is the first country in the world to introduce an enabling mechanism for special sustainability zones, zones that go beyond economics and include requirements to develop in harmony with nature, create long-term high-quality jobs, ensure renewable energy and water security, restore land and protect our environment, provide sustainable services inside the zone. This ensures that any such zone in St. Kitts and Nevis combines prosperity with sustainability. Now, how does the law work? Let me take a few moments to explain to you how the law is intended to work. The law is quite simple, running to a mere 9 pages. Section 3 sets out the objectives. These include sustainable development in harmony with nature, creation of long-term investments and quality jobs, and the promotion of development which focuses on water security, green energy transition, food security, and luxury accommodation. The law makes it clear that a special sustainability zone is created when a development agreement is entered into in relation to a specifically defined geographic area on either St. Kitts or Nevis. Under Section 4 of the law, the Prime Minister may enter into such development agreements and so declare any such zone on the island of St. Kitts. However, where any such zone is to be declared for the island of Nevis, Section 4.2 of the law makes it clear that there can be no such zone created in Nevis without the approval and consent of the Nevis Island Administration. I want to emphasize here that there can be no designation of any area in Nevis as a special sustainability zone unless the Nevis Island Administration agrees and approves that declaration. Full control of the development direction of Nevis therefore remains firmly and exclusively with the Nevis Island Administration. The role of Nevis applicable to any zone in Nevis is not restricted to the Nevis Island Administration. Under Section 7 of the law, any development agreement where the zone is in Nevis must be ratified and passed in the Nevis Island Assembly. Put differently, there is oversight and control at both the cabinet level in Nevis and at the parliamentary level as well. The mandatory involvement of the Nevis Island Assembly also ensures that any such development agreement is fully ventilated publicly so that the Nevisian people will know exactly what is being proposed on the island of Nevis. Section 9 of the law provides yet additional safeguards by empowering the Prime Minister for zones in St. Kitts or the Premier for zones in Nevis to establish an independent oversight body to receive and review applications from potential zone developers and to monitor compliance with any zone development. Lastly, the law contains a large number of preconditions before any zone can be considered. Under Section 5, any applicant to develop a zone must show, among other things, an economic analysis from a reputable firm showing long-term economic benefits to St. Kitts and Nevis, clear plans for developing the infrastructure within the proposed zone so that there is no cost to the Kittitian or Nevisian taxpayer, that the development will cause no harm to the natural environment, that the development is designed for comfort and luxury, that the development will generate water and renewable electricity to meet its needs, clear plans for health services, clear plans for safety and security within the proposed zone, dispute resolution mechanisms for residents in the proposed zone. As these are all preconditions, it means that any proposed zone developer must satisfy these requirements before being considered as a suitable developer for any proposed zone in St. Kitts or Nevis. Now, what does this mean for Nevis? Of course, for a zone to succeed, we need serious investors and partners. For years, I have said that Nevis needs a game changer to take our island to the next level of development. The current investor has proposed a development for Nevis which has the potential to create thousands of permanent jobs for Nevisians at home and allow Nevisians abroad to come back home and find meaningful employment, bring billions of dollars of investment to our island, generate hundreds of millions in direct revenue for government, which will allow us to improve healthcare, strengthen education, upgrade our infrastructure, and expand social services, dramatically increase tourism and international recognition, making Nevis a leader in the Caribbean and a shining example to the world, preserve all historic sites and full access to our people, create significant opportunities for new businesses and the expansion of existing local businesses into the zone. I anticipate that more details will be shared in the weeks ahead, but I see before us a future fueled by prosperity, sustainability, and indomitable Nevisian pride. Let me now turn my attention to some of the false remarks being bandied about in the public domain by the usual opposition forces. Sadly, it seems that some in Nevis are staunchly opposed to any form of development coming to our island. On the one hand, they argue that investors are out at sea, but whenever they hear that investors are coming ashore, they can be counted on to fabricate every conceivable attack on those investors and on any proposed investment in an effort to stop the progress of Nevis. These tactics are well known now, from the Mondo Track to the Uali Water Taxi Facility to the reconstruction of Vance Amory International Airport. All have been met with the same tired rhetoric and misrepresentations of the opposition. They allege that lands in Nevis will now be controlled by the Prime Minister. That is categorically false. No special sustainability zone can ever be declared on the island of Nevis without the full approval of the Nevis Island Administration and a ratification by the Nevis Island Assembly. This ensures that Nevis remains in control of Nevis. They allege that this is some form of colonization. That, again, is absurd. Any zone established in Nevis remains fully under the laws of Nevis and the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. The zone remains a part of the island of Nevis. They allege that people will be forced to sell their lands. That is legally impossible. No one will ever be forced to sell their land. If you do not want to sell, you do not sell. All land transactions are private, voluntary agreements between buyer and seller. They have attacked my wife and her business. I wish to state for the record that my wife has had a fully licensed, fully operational real estate practice in Nevis for 20 years, even prior to my entry into politics. I have no interest in her business. Like any licensed realtor on Nevis, she's free to represent clients to buy and sell real estate as they wish. I can confirm that she's not buying or selling any real estate that belongs to the government of Nevis. She's engaged in private business, not government business. They allege that Nevisians will be barred from fishing and visiting the beaches. I wish to be clear that our seas and beaches are all public property and will at all times remain so. Now, what are the lands that are involved here? The proposed zone is situated on the southern coast of Nevis in the general area of Saddle Hill. Those who know the geography of Nevis will know that the south coast is largely barren, with no development and no infrastructure. The lands in that area are owned by a large number of private landowners. I emphasize private landowners. The majority of lands in that area, originally owned by the government on behalf of the people of Nevis, some 238 acres, were swapped by the previous NRP-led NIA to the National Bank during the land for debt swap exercise. The people of Nevis have therefore already lost those lands. With the right partner and the right investment, these undeveloped lands can be restored, revitalized, and kept mostly green, while creating a community that is low-rise, sustainable, and environmentally responsible. Every Nevisian has the right to buy and sell lands as he or she wishes. Therefore, if anyone is approached to purchase his or her private lands, he or she has the right to say yea or nay, and of course to negotiate a price of his or her choosing. It should be obvious that the government cannot prevent any Nevisian landowner from selling his or her land, nor can we compel any Nevisian landowner to sell his or her land. The buying and selling of land are entirely a private matter as between buyer and seller, and it is they who must agree or disagree, as the case may be, on whether any particular parcel of land is bought and sold and at what price. It is therefore a monstrous misrepresentation for anyone to say to the people of Nevis that the government is involved in any large-scale sale of lands. Currently, the land sales on the south coast are entirely private transactions between private landowners and purchasers. The allegation that the government is using compulsory acquisition under the new law to force Nevisians off their land is equally false and absurd. What makes the claims of the opposition even more appalling is that they know that the land sales in that area have all been private transactions. Indeed, I am advised that prominent members of the opposition were among the very first to agree to sell their lands, to sign agreements, and to collect their monies. It cannot be right for high-ranking members of the NRP Nevis to sell their lands, pocket millions of dollars, and then turn around and blame the government. I have heard the recent public utterances of the leader of the NRP, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, and I wish to place on record that the leader of the NRP is one of two executors of the estate of her late father. She is a main beneficiary of the estate's lands in the south of Nevis. She was among the very first to sell her land for this proposed development and pocket her money. Dr. Daniel Hodge cannot sell her land and pocket millions, then turn around and tell Nivisions that the sale of the same lands by them is wrong. So you are not to benefit from your land, but Janice and her family are to benefit from their land. So she can count money, but you're not supposed to count your money. This is the height of hypocrisy and dishonesty. Now, what is the way forward? I said to the people of Nevis tonight that you elected me to lead this island, and part of that leadership is trying to attract significant investment to Nevis. Investment that can trigger growth, development, and create meaningful jobs for those living in Nevis and those abroad who may wish to return home. The Four Seasons Resort came 3 decades ago and provided a payday for many Nevisian families. None of us can say that the impact of that investment has not been beneficial to the island of Nevis. My government will seize every opportunity to partner with genuine investors to advance the development agenda for the island and people of Nevis. Nevis must continue to improve healthcare, improve education, improve infrastructure, create good jobs, enhance economic growth, achieve economic diversification, create more development, ensure environmental protection, generate more water, generate more renewable energy, create more affordable housing, and ensure social safety nets for our most vulnerable people. We are striving to become the best place in the world to live and work and raise our families. That, brothers and sisters, is our mission and our sworn duty. I extend my hand to the opposition in Nevis. Please put aside the hypocrisy and efforts to mislead our people and join our efforts to develop Nevis in a sustainable manner for the benefit not only of us who are here today, but also for the benefit of generations of Nevisians yet unborn. Building is what my government is trying to do. I ask that all Nevisians join us in building Nevis rather than seeking to destroy it. I commit, as always, to come back to you with additional information as and when these discussions progress. I confirm also that we intend to have a series of town hall discussions so that our people can not only stay informed, but be able to lend their voices and ideas to this new development for our beloved Nevis. This government has always been open and transparent with the people of Nevis. That does not change, and that will never change. May God continue to bless us, and may we in time be able to attract the level and scale of investment that will catapult Nevis into a position as a leading economy in the Caribbean region. Thank you.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
Ready to save on your build? Now you can at Builders Paradise. Yes, shoppers, build up your Value Club points at Builders Paradise. That's right, Value Club members and shoppers, your favorite frequent buyer club is now available at the home of hardware and more. Whether you're laying tiles, painting walls, replacing doors, upgrading windows, or fixing up your home, every purchase at Builders Paradise now earns you Value Club points. Enjoy exclusive benefits like discounts on thousands of items, special savings for seniors, instant deals, quarterly rebates, plus an extra up to 2% off every quarter. Shop more, save more, earn more, only at Builders Paradise. Don't miss out. Start building your rewards today with Value Club at Builders Paradise, because every bolt, board, and brush brings you closer to bigger, better savings. Terms and conditions apply.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results, you heard two presentations. Firstly, the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, followed by a statement by the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Conrad Niall Liebert, good evening.
Oh, good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my colleague, Mr. Herbert, and to everyone that is with us this evening, home and abroad, to my friends in the international circle. Good evening, and Webbo, it's a pleasure to be here. Once again, I appreciate your invitation to once again have me a part of your program this evening. And of course, Webbo, it's quite a juicy topic, a very important and deeply rooted conversation we've been having over the last months, I suppose. As I said in the last week's show, there was a level of skepticism never been realized by myself over my, probably 20 years of thinking and talking politics. And of course, things are coming to light. And as old people would say, when wind blow, you see fall bottom. And I suppose some kind of wind has been blowing, and a lot of things has come to light. I think the two presentation, the one by Janice Daniel Hodge and Mark Brantley, were very important, and I think that's the way politicians work. And so I think the Nivision public, home and abroad, and people of the Federation should be happy to be a part of this discussion, because of course it's focused on Nevis, but sooner or later maybe this height of awareness and concern might shift to the sister island of St. Kitts. Of course, it's been said, it's been, what can I say, described as a rumor that there was something more than talk about the southern side of Nevis. I think the people has been right. The people has been right with that level of skepticism. It's quite to me almost shocking that there is something actually happening or supposed to be taking place in the south, really. And as all people said, that there is some truth in every rumor, and I'm happy to hear that there might be something happening, but it's the form and the shape in which it's taking place, the shadow underneath which this whole interest and skepticism have developed seems to be of concern to the general public. I think the Premier's speech, one can say it takes the form of some damage control, because the public has been asking for further explanation. The public has been asking him what is going on in the southern side of the island, and there's that level of anxiety, which I think is being cured to a certain extent by his speech, by his remarks. And so there's lots of things to chew upon, and we would see where it goes from here. And I'm happy to be really a part of this kind of debate at this point. One would wish that most things that the Premier had said was said before, I must say. Maybe before the legislation. These town hall meetings maybe should have been done before the legislation. But it looks like it's the way he wants to do it. Whether or not the Nivision public is satisfied with that approach, we will see going forward. About his speech in particular, there are some irrelevance as far as I check. I think comparing what is supposed to be taking place in Nevis with examples were drawn in Jamaica and elsewhere. I think what goes on there in their special economic zone is something completely different. And as it's been said by himself, that we are the first in the world. So the special economic zone in Jamaica, and reference being made also to China and elsewhere, to me it's quite a distance from what is happening with this sustainable this sustainable zone which is proposed by the legislation, and so that in itself, I don't think the people should really get mixed up with that, because it's two different systems of government, in a sense, two different system of operation. The sustainable economic zone, it's quite unique. It's have not been tried. We are the first, it seems like. We are making the path in that regard, and so special economic zone, yes, they are all over. One can almost link them with what we will call industrial sites, in a sense, and of course they are controlled by special laws, and they have special privilege and certain exemptions and so forth. But I think the sustainable zone that we are speaking of is quite something different, never really been tried before, and so it's quite a distant thunder in terms of the real working of it. And so we hope that the sustainable economic zone can really benefit the people of Nevis, and we do hope that we can afford really to have one, because we speak of the benefits, but do we have the space? Do we have the space to talk to 500 acres, as I said last week, is quite a lot of land, and I suppose that we would be land strapped even to facilitate two ventures, one maybe, and as I said, that to me, I'm wonder if it would really work, because for various reasons, as I said last week, the smaller the island, the more it would impact, and as it relates to the Premier talking about the opposition's always trying to spoil the development, I think this has been happening, and it's always been something that is deeply touching to me when an investor, there's an investment opportunity, that seemingly would be beneficial to the people of Nevis and the opposition, not just the NRP, but it happened also with the CCM. Tend to get in the way and frustrate the investors. I could remember one spoke of the fuel storing facility that was supposed to be somewhere in the south of the island. I think they were frustrated by the CCM in opposition, and I think there was another investment, the fisheries, that was frustrated also by the CCM in opposition, and I think I personally would say it's time to put that aside. If there is something beneficial for the island, I think we should really get together, and not in a partisan way, but we should be supportive of the eventuality and the subsequence of whatever this investment is, if it's going to benefit Nevis. And so it doesn't make no sense at this point try to blame the other when one is also known to be doing the same. It looks like when people are in opposition, they tend to make it difficult for people in government, and so Nevis has really suffered from that, and it's a very small island, and I think the more we see that type of stuff, the more the less we'll really achieve true development. You know, so again, as it relates to the accusation about land has been sold by the NRP leader in the South, I think it was said that for such investment or this investment, I'm not sure about that, and to me that is kind of irrelevant, and because I am not aware of the leader of the opposition speaking towards people should not sell their land, and so, you know, there seems to the idea of bringing that type of stuff into this discussion seems to be quite irrelevant in a sense, you know, because this is a discussion to me where everybody seems to be anxious to really see how it's going to play out, and I think it's everybody have obviously realized it's private lands. No one know who have sold their lands, but it is something that would impact the island, and of course we should look at it in a fair way, in an honest way, and try to really be a part of something that will be beneficial to Nevis. I'm not sure what is proposed going to come to fruition. I have great doubts about that, and it can be that type of political game where something do not come to fruition, and right away you blame the opposition when the probably the requirements have not made, because there are very strict requirements as it relates to the special sustainable zone. Very strict. It's to me, it's a lot more stricter than the special economic zone that exists in Jamaica and elsewhere. And so to me, it's a steeper climb to really pass the test, to really establish the business, especially meeting the sustainable requirements in terms of energy, in terms of clean energy, in terms of food security, and all these type of stuff. Of course, such a business can have a spill-off and bring great wealth to the island, and improve on health, improve on education, improve on food. But it's left to be seen. I probably have a lot more to say on this matter at this point.
Yes, Webbo, Naya is always welcome in seeing you. Let's go back, man, and I will listen both to the opposition leader, Miss Janice Hodge, and we all listen to the Premier. Well, I like to look at things how they were and how they started. And I remember maybe about 5-6 weeks ago, town hall meeting. And the town hall meeting, a lady asked a question as to the southern lands, and the Premier response was basically, that does not exist, it's a fallacy, go read your Bible. All right, fast forward 2 weeks from that, 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks from that, we ended up in the Federal House with a bill, and that was tabled by the Prime Minister and second by the Premier on the opposition bench. The bill is the sustainable zone, the SSCZ that we're speaking of today. Quite miraculous. At that point, 6 weeks ago, there were no investor. 5-6 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever it is, we have a bill in the House that was unanimously supported, except for those, well, unanimously supported based on who was in the House at the moment. Former Prime Minister was not there, and also the former Deputy Prime Minister did not show up, I'm told. So it was a unanimous vote. Now we move forward. The idea now is how this bill was crafted. And one of the things I recognize in how the bill was crafted, when you go to, in terms of creating this sustainable zone, it has been quietly alleged and over that they're referring to an investor. The Premier spoke last night. He said there is an investor, and they never named the investor. He said the an investor had come forward, so an investor somehow had came forward miraculously in that period of 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Fine, we get that. Now, who is this possible investor? In the southern area, it has been bandied around that an Olivia Johansson is supposedly an investor. And on his page, when you go to the page, it tells you exactly what the objectives are. And it seemingly to me that the bill somehow dovetails or speak exactly to everything what the objectives are on their web page. They're a libertarian. Their interest is to develop a libertarian sovereignty country within a country. And basically everything that the bill speaks towards in terms of all the objectives, giving them the authority, sovereignty, negotiated laws, and all that sort of thing to create a libertarian society. This idea has been around since 1993. An idea that was introduced by a gentleman by the name of George Soros, and from the same place, Hungary. And it has been built on by, since 2010 by Johansson and his associates. He's been leading the charge pretty much in doing this, in finding investors. One of the main investors he's found is a gentleman by the name of Roger. I think it's Roger. I'll remember the name in a minute. Roger Ver, sorry. And Roger Ver is a multi-billionaire as well, who cryptocurrency billionaire. And it is said most of the investors don't want to be known or anything. They're very anonymous in terms of not being known or what have you. Anyways, fast forward now, we have a bill before us, and I'm not sure if it has been gazetted yet, but if it is, if it is supposed to be gazetted, then we'll have a law. And what we have now, the Premier spoke to attempt to speak to the concerns of the people. The people want to know who are the investors, how are they vetted, what are their history, what are their criminality, do they have criminality in their background, what have they done. This has never been done. A libertarian society has never been done anywhere in the world, meaning sovereignty has never been done anywhere in the world that we know of. They've been trying to do this for some time. They identify in the bill it requires a minimum of 500 acres of land in order for this to happen in Nevis, and 750 acres of land on St. Kitts. Well, the government, I don't know the government to own 500 acres of land in Nevis. And if they do, and if they don't, and an investor approach you and tell you we need, this is what we need in terms of contiguous land, no interruption in terms of ownership. So all the titles, meat and bones, have to be, as sort of linear all the way through. So you can get this wide strip of land. Now, the fact that the government don't own that amount of land in that area, nowhere close to anywhere, it has to be through private people you're going to acquire that land from. How do you assure them, the investor, that you can acquire this land? They'll have to, and as of now, they've already acquired somewhere in the region of 90 to 100 acres of land from what I've seen and what I've gleaned, with 15 sellers so far. Now, how do you get to the other 400? Yes, the Premier speaks and says there would not be any, what do you call that again? When you take land. Acquisition, compulsory acquisition. Eminent domain, that is, in the law.
We didn't say there won't be.
Well, yeah. There's no assurance as to whether or not that will be, So how do you achieve that objective of a minimum of 500 acres? Because the investors then would need that. And if Tom, or if Naya, or Webbo, or John does not want to sell, and you're up to 300 acres, how do you get to 5? It's going to be an interesting dance. And so, yes, it sounds interesting. It sounds good, but in terms of, is it workable without acquiring lands and without forcing people to sell lands? And I just don't see how that works in a practical way, because there are people who have no interest in selling lands, zero, for that matter, in that particular area. So, like, again, I don't know, I'm asking another question. If the Constitution of St. Kitts Nevis rests in the NIA, total exclusive powers on lands here in Nevis, why do you need to go to the federal house? Why do you need to go to a federal house to pass a bill like this into law? You're in total control. The federal government has no control. They have no overarching reach on this. This is your domain. It makes no sense to me that you don't need the federal ministers or the federal vote in the federal house for this. So what's the exercise is all about? That to me it doesn't make much sense. These are the kind of things people are asking. These are the kind of things people would like to know in that speech. When you give a speech like this, to sort of put aside people's anxiety. One of the other things, also before you go, one of the other things I recognized when I think last week I read out Section 9 of the bill that is supposed to be gazetted, and it says the NIA, not to conveys, the NIA.
Yes. Well, they are full authority of the land, but they must request
and consent.
Yes.
But in the bill, I thought you would be sharp quick on top of this one.
Yeah,
in the bill, right, it says contest only. So the NIA would have to request to the federal government. That's what the Constitution states, right? Request the federal to come in and then consent. But in the act that was written, the word request was omitted. So there was no request to the federal. So it makes it seem, the question now, the federal government has done a takeover. That's how it's perceived, because the federal government, almost like the swoon-in came in and you just relent. You consent. But there's no request as the Constitution demands. So, now, put that, you gazette that, and if it's tested in the courts, meaning you understand, that, it doesn't have a constitutional backdrop to the letter of the Constitution, what says the NIA ought to do with all this power vested in the NIA. So these are the concerns, when you hear, the deeper concerns that people are asking about. Who are the actors? The buyers. What is their legitimacy to this? Have they done this before? What is their criminal record? Do they have a criminal record? Is there any way you can point to their criminal record? And what is their history? These are things that are important.
But the Premier said that he's a citizen of
yes.
St.
Well, Roger Ver is a citizen.
So
he acquired citizen in 2014 in St. Kitts Nevis.
To some extent, he's been vetted. To some extent.
Well, he's been vetted, but there is something in his history that occurred in 2002. I think he was convicted in the United States for 10 months in federal prison for selling explosives on eBay. So, I mean, you understand? No, these guys, they got to figure out what they're doing. No, we can go forward. No. And this same Veer, who is mentioned, as Johansson partner, here, he's right now I think he's in Spain right now, trying to fight extradition back to the United States. He was arrested in 2024 April on the directive of the United States government. So, I don't know. We're going to slippery slope.
But people who invest in this huge sum of money, of course, need certainty. And you were asking the question why the NIA had to go to the federal house to pass a legislation when they have full authority, you know. And my answer to that is that if you invest in all this money, you probably want to go to the government of the federation and put it in law.
Well, the government is
of course.
Remember the Constitution.
The Constitution.
I mean, this has nothing to do with this has nothing to do with negotiating for, let's say, foreign access and with foreign governments. That's the federal government. The Constitution clearly delineates, speak directly towards the NIA controlling every square inch of land on Nevis. There's no overreach, no overarching authority, no overlords can touch that. That's locked in stone. So how do we get there, where we are, to the federal government to discuss, for this to be, it doesn't make sense to me. And then you don't have 500 acres of land locked in, that you can sell, contiguous land. How do you get private citizens to move in that direction?
Well, it's like killing two birds with one stone. You can't get it in Nevis, then they have some in St. Kitts, or they have in St. Kitts also.
Again, so you're going to buy 200 in Nevis.
No.
Remember, you have to buy, if you buy 200 Nevis, you got to buy 550 in St. Kitts. Remember the threshold, I think it's, well, I don't know, whatever. But I don't know how that works.
Have it all in St. Kitts.
I get you.
St. Kitts or Nevis. But of course, it's quite confusing, really, and I'm not sure. What I've come to light, I think, is that the suspiciousness of the Nevisian public, as it relates to land in the south, has been, of course, something has been realized because the public, of course, today have that feeling that the Premier knew about it.
Well, he has to have known
all during the town hall meeting.
Nothing happens that fast. Investors just come to you in 4 weeks. That don't make no sense.
And of course, maybe a long time before.
And
because the aggressiveness of individual.
Right, and you're able to create a piece of legislation 2 weeks ago.
The aggressiveness
that doesn't make sense.
Realtor in that area.
Yeah,
of course.
So. Listen. And listen, if you're going to talk about transparency, everybody, let's be transparent, all of us, right? The opposition leader, the Premier, they're all, that to me is important, that everybody hands are on the table, clean hands, as it relates to this matter, because it's a vexing matter and a matter that creates a lot of concern, here. And in my opinion, I don't think an adequate job has been done in that regard.
Talking about transparency.
Correct. Like I said, I just gave a sort of cursory background and and libertarian. And if anybody knows what libertarian is about, it's a free society. They don't believe in paying taxes. One of the reasons why he's been extradited is we're talking about $48 million in taxes and all that sort of thing. They don't believe in that sort of thing, and they claim I'm a libertarian. So now, okay, the idea is to buy out all your debt. They'll find a country, a sovereign country, okay, fine, who has high debts, and will resolve your debts. But then we create our own enclave, and we live there. And I don't know how the taxation issue is going to work out after that. Let's say 20 years from now, 10 years from now, because as a cornerstone of what they do not believe in taxes. If you understand how that works.
Yes.
This has been around for a long time.
They believe in little or no government
correct
intervention.
Correct.
And I think paying tax is one of the things the government are looking at as a major source of revenue, really.
Well, listen. 2014 saga with one of the partners with 2014 saga when they bought citizenship in St. Kitts Nevis 2014. That was predicated on the fact that you don't believe in taxes and they were coming after them. for the most part. Him, you know, and by 2015, he tried to get access to the States. Barbados denied him. The embassy of Barbados denied him. On and on and on. Australia denied him in 2019. I mean, to access again, to come into the country, Australia. I mean, it's just been a saga. I mean, there's the liberty. Listen, guys, we gotta know what we're about and what we're doing. And we have to, you know, have a clear understanding. I mean, there are a lot of lives, you know, on the line. Futures of a lot of people are on the line. Yes, good development is good, but what kind of development? At what cost? And, you know, I mean, to the young people and the little ones them who ain't even born yet, you know, you got to be a little more, to me, it needs to be a little more judicious, clear, unobtrusive, where people can understand, or, you know, players, you know, the direction in which you're taking it. It has to be clear. And as of now, I can't vouch for that. I can't say we've experienced that much.
The word diversification has been used a lot in regards to this new effort. You know, the willingness or the want, the desire to diversify the economy. How do you see that really? Even, you know, this type of stuff leads to huge diversification in some way or the other. Is one thing I noted is that the word luxury, comfort and luxury being used in the Premier's speech, that gives me the impression that we are going down that road of hotel. You know.
No, it's not hotels. Everybody's going to have private communes and their homes and that sort of thing. He said, you heard, the Premier said something to the effect that low-rise investment in low properties, not, you know, tall, obtrusive properties. So we're thinking, no monstrosities, so to speak, homes, and inviting all their folks and, you know, their ilk. Here and to buy into the community. I mean, now once you sold those lands, they now can sell them at a premium to new folks who wants to come and invest and buy here. You understand? And again, it's a free society, so, you know, they're creating their own laws inside there. Can we pierce in at this point? Remember, if you read what they do on their website, and some of these guys on their website, you know, they're creating, what they're doing actually is like, they have their own, it's a township, they have their own, well, healthcare systems, settling disputes, you know, their own little so-called judicial or whatever system that they can do that. I call it police security. It's a country. It's clearly outlined that it's a country, a sovereign inside of country. And they speak about the problems you will have doing this. The pushback they're expecting in the document, you know. So listen, we want diversity, but we don't want all kind of diversity. We can diversify. There are many ways. The footprint is just a little bit, in my mind, ridiculous, because if they're talking that 6 mile area, we're talking beyond 1,500 acres of land. Wrap your mind around that. Beyond that. So, what does that look like in the Nevis in the future? Think about it. Of course, they have their own jetties, they have their marinas, they have their own, you know, all the seabed lease. God knows what goes on, you know. I am not.
So the island certainly can't take two of those kind of investments.
Can you take one?
I don't think so.
Okay. You know, I'm sure you've been around here long enough to hear them say we do high-end tourism in the 4 seasons. 3 seasons occupy maybe a little under 300 acres, right? And I've heard everybody, and many people say we can't take on another hotel that size. You never heard that?
Yes.
We're going to find workers, we're going to find people. 4 seasons. And we're talking to go to a minimum of 500 acres. It could be 800 acres. It could be whatever the number is. and then all the other what goes along with that and the servicing. Where are we? How are we going to service that? How? I mean, just think of the gross, in terms of a macro sense. Do we have the population? The argument has always been, if you do another hotel like Four Seasons, how are we going to service them? So how are you going to do something with this level of... yeah, I'm not even talking about the footprint in terms of land size. Scale it. Make it make sense.
Yeah, but I'm one to believe that that the people would come, if we happen to have... I'm not talking about this
Two people. Which people? Which people will come?
I'm talking about if we have another hotel the size of 40 Seasons. I mean, just a hotel, all this type of sustainable thing with all this private this and that. I'm not talking about that. I do believe that, I just same argument they make, all the big ships can't come, we can't find taxi. I don't believe in that talk there, I mean, if every car got to be a taxi, until the real taxi man them come in terms of people come to Nevis to work, and the island benefit from, of course, a larger population. It's about what comes first, the eggs or the chicken. I mean,
the struggle I think the average person has with this is the footprint, the amount of land that's involved. I think that's one, and then not uncertain as to what is this. I mean, you tell a person you're going to be like a hotel, we know exactly what I would be.
Well, what is this?
What is this? What?
That's the big question.
Exactly. Those are two big things. You understand?
Because they say it's the first in the world.
Listen to me. This is something that they've been taught since 1993, and they have not found a place to land this yet.
Yeah.
Yes, you talked about Jamaica, Turks. You talk about Dubai. You talk about China, but none of them is not like this. With libertarian ideas and libertarian concepts. I want to execute that sort of stuff. This is yes, and there's a reason why that level of sovereignty would not be, would not be issued to these things. There's a reason for it, and I'll tell you a little story. The same gentleman I talk about in Spain, waiting for extradition. This year he approached, I think, you ever heard of Roger Stone? Roger Stone. He was the one who then went in the FBI or whatever, in Homeland went into, whatever it is in the States, went into his house, the Trump guy. And went into his house and raided his house before the raid Trump house in Florida. He approached Roger Stone, paid him $600,000 to help him petition the president for, a pardon. And it was rejected. Elon Musk came out and made a big deal of it and said, well, hell no. He put it on Twitter, not whatever you call that stuff, Twitter. Hell no, because you renounced your citizenship. These are just the facts. So, that's where we are.
So you think such things is a failure on the part of the government? To really stimulate, to really have a more buoyant economy, their inability to find what we may consider decent investor that can create long-term and certain development for the people?
I think one of the problems, is that...
Why are we turning to this?
To this one?
Yeah,
Because,
why?
I mean, listen, everything that comes along and sound good is not good enough. And if you're not attuned to how things work, I mean... Yeah, but you fall for any, if you can fall for anything. And I think we have to do a better job and start looking inwards in terms of finding investors inwards here, and seek for partners outside.
But do you know the utterance about he's a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis? A lot of people think this is a man who's been born around here.
CBI passport.
CBI passport.
Yeah, yes.
And that must be known to the public.
Of course.
Don't get carried away.
I left out one piece. He went, and the same gentleman went into Antigua, I think it's 2019 or 2020, and got citizenship for Antigua passport as well. Isn't that fascinating? And I think if somebody was banded in about that Antigua wanting to do something like that, but that fell apart or something the other day. I don't know if Gaston Brown got whatever, but I'm just saying. I think last week somebody said that, or somebody along the way said this thing. So, listen, again, I am happy that people are curious. I am happy that people ears are bent to the ground on this one, because I think it caught them, it shocked them. There were no town hall meetings. There were no let up. I think the opposition's leader spoke towards town hall and all that, that sort of thing, sensitizing the public as it relates to that, asking the public to giving the public information so that they can chew on and ask questions and allaying their fears. None of this was done. Bam! A town hall where somebody stood up and asked a question, and then boom, we're in the house, and then boom, we have an investor.
And then boom, we have a town hall.
This within a 6
And then boom, we have a town hall.
And that's coming.
A town hall is coming.
There you go. So they'll figure it out.
So, as I say, it seems like some kind of damage control.
Yeah.
Somebody has ring somebody ear and say, look, boy, we need to go and soften the public on this.
But it begs a lot of information there. It begs a lot of information. The specter of such a thing, you can't thrust things like on anybody and people like that. I don't know,
and that's why I said
the masses like that.
That's why I said last week. Sorry, it's a difficult thing to sell to the public, and so maybe it's best not to go to the public, because remember, you're seeking re-election here.
My question again over and over: how do you get 5 a minute?
Yeah, let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night, Reverend. See you on your guest. Mr. Liebert, I've been listening earlier.
Yes, sir.
You were making a presentation, and it seems to me like you 100% behind this project. Agree with it. Let me put it that way. When you see Mr. Gentleman there, the another gentleman, he couldn't say things better. Where does the federal government get in this? He said that tonight, and I've been saying that correct. I said that about 3 times. He was correct. Where does the federal government get in this? And you say, like, wow, just that. Town hall meeting, bill pass, project start. I mean, you know how much failed projects here I'm thinking? A lot of failed projects from years gone by. And I should have failed project in Nevis too. That amount of land. I hear my cousin last night on another radio station, Patricia Bartlett. The way how she explained, my cousins in Brownhill, where I'm from, they're going to be affected because they have animal farms. So they must be affected. From Long Point to Roundhill, my cousins then going to be affected. And a lot more people will be affected if that project has to come through. That's my input. Thanks for listening.
But caller, sorry.
Yeah,
there? Caller?
Go ahead.
Did you say that I sound like I was in support of the project?
Yes, of course. You said that is investment for the country. You said that earlier when you were making your presentation. I listened to you earlier, you know.
Okay.
I listened to you earlier.
Well, maybe you heard part of a sentence, but I don't think I gave any indication that I was for this project at all.
That is what I get
Okay, well, let's clear it up, shan't we? You're in favor of the project or not?
Yeah,
no,
well,
I don't see it workable, Webbo, to be quite honest. I think I've said that.
Okay. Caller, you heard him?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I interrupted you, Glendale. You forget. By the way, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Glendale, since I said that, and somebody put the question to me. I don't know why people put certain questions. What poor me no. Someone was asking whether or not you're basically saying, Glendale, that the country, the island is at a crossroads, critical crossroads. Not your words, but basically expressing that at this juncture.
I don't know if it's at a critical cross. Well, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll submit to that. Yes.
You
Yes.
getting nervous?
No, I submit to that.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So, the question is, will your party be revived to show some? That's a
That's all
to
right,
to show some direction.
Well, I'm not in politics. There's no interest at this point in that.
So, what happened to your political party?
I'm not interested in the politics right now, Webbo.
Well, yeah, but the question I ask you. So, what happened to your political party?
Oh,
You
basically,
see,
hold on. Basically, what we basically done basically is stepped away for a while and put the idea on ice for a bit.
Okay, so your it is fair to say your political party is on ice.
We're not doing anything. I'm not involved in that. I'm not doing politics right now.
Okay, maybe later on.
I am not.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Webbo, good evening. This is Mark Brantley. How are you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I feel privileged to still be able to call to this show that I was part of so many moons ago. And I've been listening to my two friends there tonight, and I find it rather interesting in terms of the narrative and the discussion. Now, as the leader of Nevis, as the Premier of Nevis, I would have made an address last evening, I believe, and sought to set out with some level of clarity what this new law seeks to do.
Which, Mr. Premier, by the way, we repeated at the top of the show.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because I'm listening to some of the narrative, and I am somewhat concerned that even our panelists and our commentators and our pundits are not actually listening. They have their minds predetermined and are not really paying attention to what the facts are on the ground. Now, first of all, this law was passed because it is an effort at allowing the government in Sinkit and the government in Nevis to have a framework, to have what are called special economic zones. We call them sustainable zones. But the SEZ, the concept is well known internationally. They exist all across the Caribbean. They exist in Dubai. They exist in Singapore. These are zones that are dedicated to commerce or whatever the case may be. I have said that I spoke last night because we now have a formal proposal for such a zone in Nevis. No decisions have been arrived at, Webbo. We have a proposal, and I came to the people and I said, we have a proposal. This is what the proposal purports to do. This is what the investors say they're going to do. I committed to have town hall meetings. I committed to say that we will engage with the people because, Webbo, under the law, let me specify this because as I said, I am speaking sometimes, but I'm not sure people are listening. Under the legislation, there can be no zone declared on the island of Nevis unless the NIA, the cabinet of the NIA agrees and approves. And the Nevis Island Assembly, that is the parliament, must also ratify that agreement creating the zone. So it ought to be obvious to all of us that the general public has to be engaged in this process. So I am a little puzzled that for an island and a people who keep saying they want investment, I believe all of us can agree the country has been over-reliant on citizenship by investment. I have been making the case over and over in the national parliament, in the Nevis parliament, that we need to create more avenues and more opportunities for economic activity and expansion in the country. And so this is one such effort. Will it succeed? I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot say it will. But it is an effort to seek to diversify our economy, to create new streams of revenue, and to allow the island to progress, and for us as government to provide to our people the critical services that we require. Hospital, education, security, roads, water, electricity, and of course the critical safety net for the most vulnerable in our community. We cannot do that, Webbo, by standing still. I want to just say to you, the public, the panelists, every time there has been some indication that there will be some investment of some significance in our country, it has faced opposition every time. If some of us are old enough to remember when the Four Seasons came, there was talk that people will not be able to go to the beach anymore, and the Four Seasons come in as white people. The same talk you're hearing. But which of us can, with a straight face, argue that the Four Seasons has not contributed positively to the development of Nevis? When Port Zantier was coming in St. Kitts, there was opposition. When the Kennedy Simmons Highway was being done in St. Kitts, there was opposition. The truth is that whenever we hear about something significant coming to the country, you have those who start to argue that the country should remain the same, it should not change, and therefore we must stay where we are. And if that is what the people of Nevis want, I'm the servant of the people of Nevis, then so be it. We stay where we are, we don't progress, our children keep going away to go to school and staying away because they don't have meaningful jobs to come back to, and we just remain where we are. I believe, Webbo, that the island needs a game changer. I believe that there is an opportunity for development, particularly in an area of Nevis, which we all can agree is completely barren at the moment. There's nothing over on that side of Nevis. Once you pass Long Point Port, you have one or two houses, and then it's vacant land. It's on the Atlantic coast, you have cliffs, you have rocks, and you have barren land. It is not even land that is fit for agriculture. So if people in that area, and I want to emphasize this point, if people in that area, if Naya, if my good friend there, if they have land in that area, and if somebody were to approach them to purchase their land, they have a right to say yea or nay. It ought not to be that people are then said to accuse the government, because I have been at pains to point out, Webbo, that the government has not been involved in any sale of land anywhere. When these people first spoke to us, we sent them away. We said, you all have an interest in that part of the island. The government doesn't have any land over there. 200 and something individuals own the land. Go and talk to them. That was the understanding. And so now that people have agreed to sell their land, and the people are purchasing land from people, I am now hearing that the government is selling out Nevis. And I want that to be very clear tonight, Webbo. And in every comment that I make, I'm going to make that very clear. Because as government, we cannot tell Webbo Herbert whether to sell or not sell Webbo Herbert's property. That's a matter for private people to discuss. I am not involved in that. The government is not involved in that. And I just want to make that clear. But it comes back really to the question of whether or not, as an island, we want development, we want investment. You will recall, and I'm sure the panelists there who are political pundits will recall, that one of the biggest arguments against Mark Brantley and the CCM is we have not brought any big investor to Nevis. They say Four Seasons, bought by the NRC, was the last big investor that came. They say the investors are out at sea. Well, now the investors are coming ashore, and they're showing interest, and serious interest. My simple point is, let us discuss it in a mature way. Let us get away from all the hysteria and the foolish allegations about people can't go in the sea, and fishermen can't fish, and all of this nonsense. And let us just have a real conversation about where the island is headed and what kind of development that we want for the island. I will say this last week, thanks for the time, but I'll say this last week. We were in the process of commissioning a study to do a road on the South Coast. In fact, it's in our manifesto. After we heard about the possibility of this development, we put a hold on that. That was going to cost us anywhere from $20 to $40 million to put in that road. We put a hold on it because part of this agreement that is proposed and not finalized, I want to emphasize, is that those individuals who come will have the responsibility of putting in all the infrastructure, road, water, electricity, it will be their responsibility, not the taxpayers of Nevis. So we have an opportunity here to have a part of the island currently barren developed. And that is, to me, the mature discussion that I am looking for. Let us debate, let us discuss that. Let us go into town halls and have a conversation about that and really determine, is this the best thing for Nevis? Is a development like this, which is similar to the Four Seasons, just larger, is that something that we would like to do? This development is promising hotels, it's promising resorts, restaurants, housing, that kind of development. Is that what we want for the island? And let us have that discussion so that the government can be better informed in terms of where we're going. But all this hysteria is really unbecoming of us as Nevisians. All this talk about can't go to the beach. I don't know if you all know over there as well as I do, but I go there often. I don't know where the beach is on that area. There's no beach over there. But even if there is to become a beach, I have said and put that claims in my address to say all beaches, all oceans on the island of Nevis are public property. That cannot change, that will not change. And no matter how often I say things, I point out things, people come back and they say the same thing over again. I am not sure, Webbo, whether I must say it in Spanish or French so that we could have a better understanding. Because I'm trying my best to say so in English, and no matter how many times you say, people come back with the same empty rhetoric. And I'm saying, listen, let us rise above that. If you're going to be opposed to the project, let us be opposed to it on principle. Let us argue on principle. Let us have the level of debate in the country which benefits all of us. Not this rah, 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 because at the end of the day, rah, rah, rah don't give one job, doesn't create one job, doesn't allow our country to move forward 1 inch. And I believe we just need to stop with all the hysterics and focus. What do we know? What is on offer? And that is why I'm saying I'm going to take this into the community because I want the feedback from people. I want young people who leave Nevis go away to study can be assured of coming back here because there's opportunity here. I want those abroad right now who might be listening to say what? They need accountants, they need managers. I am coming home, I have my degree. That's the Nevis I am trying to create. And we cannot create that Nevis. I hear my friend here talking about local investors and partnerships. And while local investment is important and this government will provide every support to local investors, let's face it, which local person can raise $1 billion for game-changing investment in Nevis? I mean, we just have to be practical sometimes in our discussion. Which local person could have created the Four Seasons Resort? Had the capacity to create the Four Seasons Resort? But a lot of times we talk and it sounds like we're talking just for the sake of talking. When in reality what we need in the country is meaningful conversation that can advance us. Whether this project goes forward or not will ultimately depend on the feedback that we get because we are servants of the people. But I just wanted to call to emphasize those few points because it is important that we have rational voices, peak international development in a way that people can understand and appreciate the pros and cons, minus the hysteria and minus the false claims that continue to be made. All this nonsense whereby I see a map saying how this zone don't stretch from Butlers all the way come back around to Bath. I mean, people are just making it up as they go. And all I'm saying is just get an opportunity to have a conversation. The government can only speak based on formal information that has come to the government. I have said we now have a formal application for a vote. And that is what we intend to talk about. Webbo, I took up a lot of your time. Thank you very much. Yeah. And good night to the panel.
That's okay, Mr. Premier. Though. Before you go, can I do some engagement?
Sure, absolutely.
Now, I feel that perhaps I've been in this communication business all my life. And you spent a little time on pointing out how you try your endeavor best to get certain things across. And at the end of the day, seemingly, it doesn't come across. My folks will tell you, and people I talk to, I always point out there's communication and then there's effective communication. Because you want to know that the message that you are getting across, you're putting across, is getting across. So maybe that's one of the things that we have to look at. You mentioned at the top of your comment that you were on the heavyweight show, and I would add, help make it. So why don't you come back one of these days amongst the same pundits that you're referring to who perhaps saying some information that is inaccurate, and let we have the debate like the good old days?
Well, Webbo, I will tell you that if I could have tonight, I would have been there, because as I'm listening, that passion that I have for this level of debate is really why I called in. Because I said, the days when I was there, Stanley was there, I was there, Ted Hobson,
Hastings and company, Kenneth and stuff like that. Yeah.
You would have had a good sort of cut and thrust. And through that debate.
And then at the end of the day, we'd never fall out.
The way you can't fall out if you're debating issues based on the country. This is not personal. I have tremendous respect for the panelists that are here. If I see them tomorrow, we have a drink. I have no difficulty with any of the guys here. They should know that. They know me well. But my point simply is that we need a level of debate in the country that really uplifts us.
Okay, so let's organize that. I can let you know when we can get it done if it's convenient for you. So can we do that?
My Tuesday nights are normally free. Call on me anytime. I have no difficulty.
Okay, so that's that part. Let me give the panelists an opportunity to respond to anything that you might have said.
Sure, absolutely.
Glendale.
Yeah, Mr. Premier.
Yes, brother.
Yeah, do you have any regard for the footprint of this entire project that you've purported? A minimum of 500 acres, a minimum, not a maximum.
No,
hold on.
Wait, I just wanted to correct that was ultimately removed from the bill.
That was removed?
Yes. So
and the 750 acres in St. Kitts was removed?
Yes.
So what is it?
500 acres in Nevis and it's 750 acres in St. Kitts was removed from the bill. It's not part of the final bill.
What is the final bill, Mr. Premier?
It makes no reference to acreage.
So the proposal that you have in front of you, does it speak towards acreage?
It speaks to a target area. I think that target area is just over 2,000 acres. However, that will depend on who's willing to sell and who's not willing to sell. Because we've said to the people that the lands are private and therefore they must negotiate with the landowners. So while that is their target area, they do not yet have a precise area. They're still going through that process.
Do you have any concerns, though, Mr. Premier, the fact that this proposed, before I go any further, what kind of community is this going to be?
It's going to be a high-end community, luxury resorts, restaurants, shops, residences. That is, I said, the best model that we have that we can compare to is the Four Seasons.
Yeah, but
in terms of the homes and residences at the Four Seasons. I think they're also proposing a marina. I'm not sure how that's going to be done in an area like that, but they're also saying that they would like to do a marina.
Why would they need sovereignty?
Sovereignty?
Yeah.
Well, there's no sovereignty. Well, again, hold on. Again, in my speech last night, I said very clearly that any zone that's created remains a part of Nevis and subject to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. You can't be subject to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis and have sovereignty.
Well, in the document that the bill that was first drafted and you voted on and got unanimous support on.
Yes.
Didn't it speak towards they being able to create their own government?
No. Oh, where are you getting that from, my brother? Every zone anywhere in the world would have peculiar laws applicable to that zone. For example, zones around the world are usually exempt from customs, they're exempt from certain taxes, they may have a certain code that applies inside the zone, but there's nothing about no own government and all of that.
Well, let me ask this.
That doesn't arise.
Yep.
Let me just
before you say that, Mr. Premier, Glendale, you read that in the document?
Well, we had the document. We had a document here, which is the. Let me read it back to the Premier.
Well, I would like to hear that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll try and find it quickly.
Who have the
Go ahead,
document? You and Naya?
Go ahead, now.
You and Naya have Naya. You have the document with him?
No.
So-
I don't. But can I ask the Premier a
Yeah,
question?
but
Let me
ask him.
let me
Yeah,
just-
go ahead, Mr. Premier.
Now, if you can, for
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Premier, and then Naya, you'll ask the question.
Please forgive, I just want to say to Mr. Herbert, the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Law is only 9 pages. It is not a lengthy read, and it is quite uneasy to understand. There is absolutely no truth to any suggestion that that law allows any sovereign state to be created.
Okay, Mr. Premier, Mr.
Yes.
Glendale has indicated to me that he has the document. Go ahead and read it,
Good.
Glendale.
Sorry.
All right, so Mr. Premier, I have a document in front of me that says Special Sustainability Zone Authorized Bill 2025, St. Christopher and Nevis, number of 2025. Does that sound familiar, sir?
Go ahead and read the section, brother.
Okay, let me try and get to it first.
But thought you had it.
No, I have the bill.
Oh, you have the bill, but not that section. Okay, in the meantime, while he finds it, Naya, what were you saying?
I wanted to ask the Premier a question, because he said that in the manifesto there was an idea to put a road around the southern end, and that was put on pause because of this development. Is that correct?
Yes, this proposed development.
This proposed development?
Yes.
Yeah, but I was wondering then, I mean, in the recent town hall meeting, why you didn't discuss this development, or even...
Because I was very specific to say in that town hall meeting that we have had a preliminary discussion, but at the point we had no formal submission before the cabinet. And so I didn't want to get into speculations about what might and what might not be, because we had asked the folks to go away, try to negotiate purchase of lands, then come back and talk to us. So that is why I was at pains to avoid speculation, because I could not point to a formal document that the cabinet had received by way of say, an application to the cabinet. We now have that. And so I feel more comfortable now coming to the public because I'm armed now with a formal application to the government. I hope that explains it.
Okay, Glendale, you have it now?
1 second.
That's like the
Trying to
song
get to it.
My Elusive Dream.
No.
Webbo,
Yes.
no discourtesy to Glendale, but he won't find it, eh?
Well, you know, this is time for a light moment. Maybe it's like the song My Elusive Dreams.
Might be.
So maybe I'll look for
Because
that. And
I-
Glendale, I'll drop that one for you tomorrow if we don't find it. What do you think?
I debated that legislation, and I can say categorically there's no provision for any sovereign state to be created through that legislation. None whatsoever.
So you found it as yet, Glendale?
Keep going, Rebel.
You keep going.
You keep going.
Okay, Mr. Premier, when
Yes.
Glendale finds it,
Tell him to, when he comes on the show, we'll have it.
you'll
Because I'm rifling through
you'll
the document
manufacture
right
it by
now.
then. Glendale. Mr. Premier, you know that the inventors of the light moment, so he thought it's time for one. So he says when you come on the show, he'll have it by then.
Well, and if he wants to come on the guest tomorrow, he can come, you know. We can have a discussion.
Yeah, but work with me. He wouldn't find it by then, he said. Glendale, you have it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm scrolling to the document, sir.
Okay, but the Premier says only in 9 pages.
Just one more question for the Premier. Mr. Premier,
Yes, brother.
do we have a body of people in Nevis that is kind of aiding you in aiding your government or your cabinet in analyzing this new development? I think the legislation speaks to a special body of people.
Right. So the legislation at section 9, I think, says that for zone in Nevis, the Premier can appoint a monitoring body. We have not yet done so. Because, as I said, we are going through now, we have had an agreement sent to us, and the cabinet is going through and looking at what it is that is being proposed. So we have not yet done so, but it is a matter that we will engage in, because the legislation provides that we can put such a body in place to monitor and to make sure that the preconditions, because Section 5 of the law sets out a number of preconditions that any developer must satisfy in order for them to be considered. So, Naya, you're 100% right. That is what we intend to do.
Okay.
Okay. Also, Mr. Premier, you said that you are not certain that it's going to work. Am I correct there? This new development.
I am not a soothsayer, Naya, so we do things with the best of intentions, but I can't tell you tonight that I guarantee that this will deliver what it says it will deliver. What I can tell you is we will look at it in a sober and sensible way.
Good, I understand, and that seems to be the mood of a lot of people in the public, including myself. So I don't want you to feel like we are not taking this thing into serious consideration because we are slightly or sometimes skeptic and uncertain about the outcome of it. Because I get the feeling from what you were saying earlier that the discussion is more one of negative. And you're speaking towards the idea that if we want Nevis to remain as it is, we don't want Nevis to remain as it is. But this particular investment seems to be one that brings on a lot of uncertainty, and that's just the way I feel, and a great number of people in the public feels, really.
And I recognize that, and part of that has been that prior to yesterday and my national address, the government has really not said anything on this matter. So I am cognizant of the fact that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the opposition has been on a constant roll. Every day they put out something new about this development and this land, and all kinds of allegations are being made. All I'm saying is, let us now refocus on what is. Not something fanciful like my friend there, Glendale, said about sovereign state. Not fanciful about fishermen can't fish and people can't go to the ocean. Let us focus on what is real, and let us, as government, bring the information. Town halls, on the mark, press conference, national addresses, TikTok, X, Instagram, every avenue we have. We will bring the information so that our people can be informed. At the end of the day, we live in a democracy. And in a democracy, even if Jesus Christ were to come back, not everybody will agree. I understand that. But all I'm asking for in the country is reasoned and reasonable debate. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Some of us have already made up our mind that this thing is bad, and we don't know anything about it. We don't have any of the facts. And when the facts are shared, and the facts don't accord with our beliefs, gleaned from whatever talk show we listen to, we just reject the facts. I mean, tonight I'm talking to you, and Mr. Herbert is saying, Glendale, is that why the people want to create a sovereign state?
Right, but let's check in. Walk with me, Mr. Premier. Walk with me. Glendale, you found it yet?
No, I stopped looking.
You stopped.
Yeah,
you stopped. But
I was listening in on you.
So you know.
No, I was listening in on the discussion right now.
But you were scrolling the pages.
No, I was
you
looking
agree
at
with
something
that?
and I'm reading.
You were looking at something else?
No, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
No. Yes,
I
sir.
was listening to
Yes,
you.
Mr. Premier.
I love my brother Glendale, and I'm happy he stopped looking. Because he's not going to find it.
No, but see what happens. This is a fact. The seat that Glendale is sitting in has a history of persons sitting in that seat. Naya knows where I'm going. Say that they have a document, and when they're asked to present the document and read it, never finds it.
But
And Naya knows. Yeah, he's in that seat.
He needs to get a new seat. Webbo, what you can do for Glendale, put him in the seat that I used to be in.
I don't know if he... Anyway, thank you, Mr. Premier. We will organize that stuff. And as you said, we will have a spirited debate.
No problem, man. And thank you guys, Naya and Glendale, for entertaining
All right.
me. I really appreciate it, you know?
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
blessed.
Yeah, thanks. Glendale, you found it yet?
Keep going, Webbo.
You know they had a movie, Naya. Are we there yet? You know it?
I don't know.
You Google it. Are we there yet? So, you know the movie, right, Glendale?
Yes.
So, that's going to be the light moment for tonight. Are we find it yet?
Keep going.
So you concede with the Premier, you're not going to find it.
We're not conceding it.
You're not conceded. Okay, keep looking. All right, so now what?
The truth is, sovereignty within a country, I can't see it be a reality, to be quite honest. That means that the government is what? So yes, we got to, face reality. I can't understand the existing government can have some people come in and have their own government, their own sovereignty. I hear them say they can have their own police and their own courthouse. It's like, let's get real,
Good. Let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. I want to use a euphemism and say that the Premier was being a little bit disingenuous, because from what I heard of that town hall meeting, it gave the impression that the poor lady didn't know what she was talking about. There was nothing of substance to whatever rumor she had. And now to get this, and the Premier wants to gloss it over by saying that, well, there was nothing, no formal proposal. I don't think that was good enough, okay? And I got the impression that discussions were more advanced. If you could be talking about hotels and high-end houses, homes, and that sort of thing, it sounds as if the discussions were more advanced than was let on to be. And as such, it gives the impression that what they were actually trying to do was stall and let the project reach to a point where it's almost like it's irreversible, because if lands have been sold already, what the people going to do with the land if they don't get to and it seems like it could be more than 500 acres now, right? The thing is, why this haste in Parliament? Again, it gave the impression that there was either desperation to bring this thing here, or they wanted to get to a point of no return again, and to bring this thing with the opposition, selling lands down there, selling land that they own down there, was, I think, a red herring that could have been avoided. What he wasn't asked about was this libertarian thing that was mentioned before, and I suspect maybe that's where Glendale got the idea that sovereignty was in the document.
So walk with me. In other words, Glendale said it, but you know where he got it.
No, I'm suggesting.
Walk with me. Glendale is the one who said and talked about it. He does not know at this juncture where to find it, but you know.
What I'm saying, based on what was said on the show, where they talk about this libertarian group, that was meant. The word sovereign was mentioned in that document. That's a different document to the bill.
Yeah, but
right?
You're not following me. But that's okay, because I was mentioning earlier there's something called communication and effective communication, and sometimes we may try our best. And what I do sometimes, if I present it one way and the person didn't get it, I blame myself. So I take another approach and see whether or not I can get the point across. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, as you heard, walk with me. As you heard, the Premier said he's going to accept our invitation when we're ready, and we're going to have him have a spirited debate and see what happens. And of course, you will be able to, call in or join in. You like to be a part of the panel? That panel?
I'm interested.
Doesn't matter.
I wouldn't mind.
Okay. So,
I wouldn't mind.
you know how to reach me?
I I know I know this number.
Okay, so right, so call this number tomorrow. Leave a name and a number for me,
Okay.
and then we will set it up. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, Naya.
Webbo, like everything else, it is an attempt, according to the Premier. It is a framework, and one would hope that things can fit neatly into that framework so that the people of Nevis can benefit. For now, there's very much a lot of doubts and uncertainty, even to a certain extent coming from the Premier. So, yes, we would like to have much more debate on this matter. I feel like, as the caller said, that there was sufficient information that they could have probably have an even a slightly hypothetical discussion, because the lady who asked him about development on the southern side of Nevis during the town hall meeting basically get a blank page from him. And there is that impression, and I feel the same as the caller, that there was enough information given thus far to even, you know, I'm not saying he should satisfy the public, but give that indication that there is something in the pipeline not yet to be discussed. But the impression the public get from him then was like, I don't know what you guys talking about, you know, and so slightly deceptive. But at times I do understand the secrecy, you know, which sometimes, you know, politician or political party have to operate with, because of, again, this kind of tear-down approach we have, you know, coming from political party to political party. And of course, we are accustomed to so many announcements about hotel over there, hotel over there, hotel over there. I guess one would like to, for it to come closer to materialization before one gave, you know, some kind of solid indication that something is going to happen. As for now, I think we want something to happen on island, and I do believe the Premier gives the impression that, you know, we are running out of options. But I don't think we are. I think what is needed is possibly more creative thinking, and maybe a open bracket for the public, maybe to weigh in on possible ideas. And we sometimes think that we cannot get investment. It doesn't have to be big like Four Seasons. It doesn't have to be big like, you know, it can be much smaller, because the island is small, you know, and we probably can look, maybe not locally, but locally in collaboration with divisions probably in the diaspora. You know, I think, you know, we probably have to establish maybe areas of government where, you know, like a think tank sometimes, to really dig deeper and deeper into possible investments that can move Nevis forward. Sometimes we probably just see this huge investment, and the island is small, basically consuming the island. I mean, yes, Four Seasons was a successful one. We would like to see another Four Seasons, I suppose, or something that, you know, employ people and, you know, and create that economic upsurge as Four Seasons did and is doing. And so I think we cannot carry this kind of half-islandism forward, meaning that because CCM in power, everybody support NRP can think, and vice versa, you know. And of course, the political victimization should take a back bench, because we only got 12,000 people in here. If 6,000 people of the island is seeing prosperity and the other 6 is not, that's a difficult situation. And I believe that everyone in Nevis should have access and benefit from the resource of the country, from the development of the country, should have an opportunity. And I would just ask the political parties and the political and the political people to think more along that line, and what is good for Nevis to encourage it, and what is bad for Nevis to discourage it. This particular project is uncertain according to the waves that's been coming in terms of its goodness or its badness, I suppose. And so let's have a good discussion about it. I hear the Premier talking about people that say people can't go on the beach. I don't hear all them talk there, because, to be quite honest with you, I don't believe local people is saying. But I must say this. I've been to Jamaica the other day, and 4 o'clock coming, you got to go off the beach. Another beach I go to, you got to pay money to go down on the beach. And so it is not a far-fetched thing. I suppose when these developments comes around, and we would see, and I hope that there is serious stipulations that the beach remain free for the people. And because, when they decide to have their little something down there and the marina, and the little black boy can't walk past by and duck into the water and duck out, that is really a problem. And I hope that Nevis doesn't come to that. It's not like that. I enjoy Nevis and the access to beaches, because, as I say, when I'm in Jamaica, I was like, I can't believe this is going on. We just hear songs being people singing in Barbados, Trinidad in the past, or they need access to the beach. I can't believe it. It does happen, but it does happen in big place like Jamaica. And so it's not just about development. It's still about freedom for the people of the island. It's still about the growth, as Janice Daniels said, any development that seems to only favor a few, whether it's local or foreign, it's not a true development. And I like that. We must be the beneficiary of any development. Talking about Nevis people, all the people that live here in Nevis.
Glendale, you want the last word?
We're looking forward to a lively debate in the future, Webbo, and continue this debate. And it's only benefiting the people at the end of the day. And then we'll see what happens next.
So, and then between now and then, you'll keep looking.
We'll try.
This program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening for Government at Work, a place you can spend all of your evenings right here on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought that get results. You all have a pleasant evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertiser.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio. From the